Anthology on the bad, short-lived, and forgotten shows and events in TV history. You are listening to It Was a Thing on TV.
Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Episode 561, submission number 2600, Escapade. Escapade was a pilot created for CBS and broadcast May 19th, 1978.
Wait a minute, Chico. Did you say May 19th?
I said May 19th.
Oh, I hope Kane didn't hear that.
What does that mean?
Don't you know Kane doesn't like the date May 19th?
Oh.
Because that's the day his parents died. Morgan Fairchild, she's going on an escapade with Granville Van Dusen. They're gonna go on an escapade. I know Quinn Martin didn't do these type of theme songs, but you know what? They're gonna go on an escapade.
You're just so excited to talk about Granville Van Dusen again.
Oh yeah, for somebody we didn't know existed 559 episodes ago.
Oh, he's making a Hall of Fame case in like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. This is amazing how like he came out of like nowhere. He's like the Phoenix coming from the ashes. He's not dead. I shouldn't say coming from the ashes, but he's coming back to life. And it's like, holy crap, Granville Van Dusen is something in our lives, and we may actually need to pay attention to him.
Well, guys, this is 1978. Like Quinn Martin Productions, they got what?
On the air at this point,
Yeah,
Barnaby Jones.
yeah.
Streets of San Francisco would have ended the year earlier. I think it ended in 77.
Cannon's over at this point.
Oh, Cannon's over by 2 years. That ended 76. You would have had some oddball stuff like Tales of the Unexpected. And I think The Runaways. I think that was like 78-ish. But the big time for Quinn Martin would have definitely been like 7 years earlier. 71, 72, you had Cannon. 71, you had the end of Dan August, which we talked about previously. You would have still had the FBI in the air at that time.
I didn't think the FBI was a Quinn Martin production.
Yeah, it was. It was a
Oh, yeah.
QM Warner Brothers production.
And yeah, the Runaways actually would have been on at this time, April 27th of 78 to September 4th of 79. But I think besides that, you're looking at just Barnaby Jones. That would have been on in 1978, I mean.
You know what else was on in 1978? The New Avengers.
Yeah, because as we've established on this podcast, if you get rid of the old and you put in new, it'll make everything in the show better.
Also, I should add that Tales of the Unexpected was in 77, not 78. So, 2 shows were on the air for Quinn Martin at this point. Barnaby Jones, which would have been in like season 7, season 6, and you would have had The Runaways.
So the New Avengers, it was developed by Albert Fennell, and Brian Clements as a joint UK, French, and Canadian TV show, which follows in the lineage of the original Avengers, created by Sidney Newman in 1961. It also aired here in the US on CBS on a 2-year delay and was reasonably popular enough for CBS to tap Brian Clements and Quinn Martin Productions to create an American version. But we couldn't call it the Avengers because of the Marvel. I don't know where they pulled Escapade from, but the name worked. Instead of Patrick McNee and his immediate junior and a foxy lady sidekick, we get 2 young agents and a supercomputer.
Well, this is 1978. Computers are like the new thing.
The lead agent, Joshua Rand, who is going to be the male lead from the new Avengers, not Patrick McNee, but the other male agent, played by Granville Van Dusen, best known as Keith Dennison in 53 episodes of The Young and the Restless, and the voice of Ray Spannon on both The New Adventures of Johnny Quest and Johnny Quest: The Real Adventures, which featured J.D. Roth in the title role.
But let's be quite honest. This is the second show in a row we're talking about Granville Van Dusen, and we never mentioned him in the first 559 episodes.
Actually, talking about the New Adventures of Johnny Quest, that does occasionally appear on MeTV Tunes.
Oh.
Well, I mean, there's only, I think, 1 season, maybe 2 seasons of the OG Johnny Quest, so you gotta mix it up a little bit.
Do they play The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't give a flying you-know-what about Johnny Quest. That's seriously like one of the few shows that MeTV Tunes shows that I just check out on. I never liked Johnny Quest. I know I've seen the new Johnny Quest pop up, but I wish I could help you out there. Another thing I want to add for Granville Van Dusen, I shared this with Greg and Chico earlier this week as we were preparing for the show. Granville Van Dusen played the doctor who took care of Jessica Tate when she fell into a coma in the season 3 cliffhanger of Soap. He was on 5 episodes, the last 3 of season 3 and the first 2 of season 4. So he's somebody that, at least me and Greg, I don't know how big of a Soap fan Chico is, but that's somebody that Greg and I would at least recognize from a pretty key role at the end of season 3 and the start of season 4 once she gets out of the coma. And before she gets abducted by 3 wands. 1, 1, 1, 2, and 1, 3. Let's talk about this little escapade.
Yeah, ha ha ha. Joshua Rand's assistant, a lady by the name of Susie, stylish, confident, self-assured, quite sexy, played by Morgan Fairchild.
Hey, Gene, do you want to say anything about Morgan Fairchild?
You're gorgeous.
Hey, it's Tommy Flanagan's wife.
That's the ticket.
And then you have the role of the supercomputer they call Oz. Technically, its full name is Computerized Security Initiator Mark VK7. U.S. patents pending. But they call it Oz because of the movie, The Wizard of Oz.
Well, and also, let's be honest, that name that you gave is a big freaking mouthful.
They don't credit him with a credit in show, but per the extensive research, found out that it is voiced by Jonathan Harris, Dr. Smith from Lost in Space. And those were just the 2 main characters. Then you have like all of the guest cast, which, because this is a Quinn Martin production, they're going to put in bright lights, but they don't do so until the end for this pilot for some reason. on this particular episode, we have Len Berman playing Arnold Tolliver and Janice Lind playing Paula Winters, the agent who disappears without a trace. And then you have, as tough guy in bar, Gregory Walcott, who would be 20 years removed from Plan 9 from outer space. A lot of talent in front of and behind the scenes. What does it create? It creates an escapade. We begin with this training exercise with new recruit Paula Winters, who's nervous about her first assignment, and after being told to relax, she heads to her apartment while being tailed by somebody, presumably Arnold Tolliver. The next day, after picking up Susie, Joshua heads to HQ where they discover that Paula, who was supposed to meet them for the assignment, is missing. After consulting the computer Oz, who informs them of freelance agent Arnold Tolliver, threat level extreme, somewhere in San Francisco, where all of the action takes place, they race to Paula's apartment to find her car driving away in the opposite direction. One swift kick of the door reveals what we suspected. The shower is running, the tea is on, but nobody's home. So after the agents give chase, Paula's spotted running toward the Golden Gate Bridge. But it would appear that Paula didn't exactly run anywhere, it looks like, because of some clues she left. A Navajo betrothal trinket and a case full of teddy bears. Oz locates the car around the area where we last saw her, which leads the pair to a graveyard, more specifically the grave of one Edward Malone. Paul is running away again. The agents give chase, only for her to slip around the same time Oz cancels her assignment. While trying to figure out why the trail went cold, the agents spot a picture in the window of a shop. The picture is Paula in a wedding gown, and the caption of the wedding is Mr. and Mrs. Malone. They catch Paula again outside in a dress that Susie surmises is European in origin. Once again, Paula is sneaking in an apartment window, but that pursuit ends in the death of a man by the name of Bartholomew Denzig, who's just a small-time criminal, but on his person, another teddy bear. Oz calculates that Edward Malone was a sea captain, so it's off to the docks where they find trouble in the form of a guy with a tattoo of Paula on his chest, given by an artist near Old Malone's boat.
Wait. Who has a tattoo of some random girl on their chest?
Like 3 out of every 5 guys in 2025. Am I wrong? No.
Another Paula sighting, another chase. Paula's run over by a boat, or so it would appear, but it wasn't Paula. It was another small-time criminal by the name of Jill Carter. Whoever's leading on our agents, Arnold knows all about it and about Paula's disappearance, and is fishing her for information, more specifically, a bunch of secret passcodes for what appears to be a very expensive heist that's about to go down. The team gets another call from Paula, which sends the agents to Tumulty Lake, where they find her in a boat, or rather, a mannequin rigged to look like her, set as base to try and kill Josh. All of it. The pictures, the teddy bears, the random appearances of people that look like Paula, the tattoo on the guy's chest. All of this is a false flag operation. Because, let's be honest, Arnold Tolliver, threat level extreme, his MO is to act like a fox. And what does a fox do in order to get the slip on his pursuance.
I almost want to answer this like, what does the fox say? You remember that from Elvis?
But yeah, what does a fox do? It diverts his pursuers by throwing them off the track. All of this is a false flag operation. The only way to find Paula is to go back to where it started. They find Paula one floor down after eyeing the neighbor, who is wondering where Paula was at the beginning of the show, but is now revealed to have been working for Arnold the whole time. So what was the key word that Arnold and his henchmen are looking for from Paula? Teddy bear. And that's the pilot.
Oh. Well, how did this pilot do?
Hold on, I'll pull up the numbers. So what was the air date, Chico?
May 19th, 1978, sir.
Oh, that's right, May 19th, because Kane hates that day because his parents were murdered on that day.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how I remember that part? Well, I'm just saying. Chico says the date, and the first thing that comes to my head is what Greg said earlier about that's the date that Kane's parents died.
Yeah, Kane and the Undertaker's parents, because the Undertaker apparently like burned them to death.
Boy, that's not creepy or anything.
Yeah, that's not morbid for a WWE storyline.
It could definitely use Paul Bearer, though, given that situation. Oh, I'm going to bury your parents. Ooh.
It would have been funny if Paul Bear was in this pilot, even though it's 1978. Oh, Morgan Fairchild! Oh, I'm gonna help you with this supercomputer that's gonna help you solve all the crimes. Oh, yes!
Now, Greg, I was hoping what you'd say is, oh, Morgan Fairchild, you're gorgeous. So I'm trying to look for the ratings, and I do not see them. Let me just, yeah, all I've got here is a bunch of cars for sale. Somebody wants to get rid of their 73 motorhome, their Escapade motorhome. Very good condition, new battery, $7,900. $7,900 back in 1978. I think I'm going to head in the TARDIS and see if I can get me a 73 motorhome. Alas, I don't have ratings.
Oh.
Well, let me double check. Hold on. Let me just let me try a different search. Now, the only ratings I can find, believe it or not, appear to be Malaysian TV ratings, where apparently, like, at least like 6-7-year-old reruns of Mannix are in the top 10 every week. Apparently, the Malaysians love them some Mike Connors. Yeah, I got no ratings. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's a shame.
It would appear that ratings have been lost to time.
Well, I think we can surmise that the ratings were not good, or at least not good enough to justify this to go to series.
But it did air as just a special, a Friday night special, back when Friday nights were adventure nights for CBS. And this was about as high as adventure as you could possibly expect from the network. But if you want to watch it yourself, they did release, I don't know if this was an official release, but a DVD was released and is available for purchase. However, the pilot is available to stream right now for free on YouTube, thanks to the fine folks at the Museum of Classic Chicago Television.
There's actually a couple of videos on YouTube, not just that one. The quality is a little iffy, let's say. Now, obviously, it's a 47-year-old videotape at this point, but I saw this not through the place that Chico just mentioned, through Fuzzy Memories. I saw it someplace else.
Granville Van Dusen was really good in his role. Morgan Fairchild was incredible in her role. I don't think they were incredible together, though, because if you've seen like old episodes of the old Avengers or the new Avengers, you know that John Steed has sort of an unspoken rapport with his partners. Especially Emma Peel was his favorite, I'd like to say.
Hey, speaking of Emma Peel and Peel Cheeks, Greg, would you like to share what you found at like the 2013 mark on this video? If you want to say no, that's a perfectly valid answer, Greg.
Where is Greg?
I think he just fainted. He fainted thinking about Morgan Fairchild's caboose. Well, I'll spoil it, and Greg will just get the surprise of his life when he hears the final product. Greg discovered before we started recording that at the 2013-2014 mark, we found out the real reason that Morgan Fairchild got cast in this show. She's going into a car and she's got her posterior sticking straight up in the air, and there's no way you can miss that badonkadonk. Or that big dumper, or whatever you want to call it. Quinn Martin clearly saw that and is like, you're hired.
He saw something he liked.
Well, Mrs. Quinn Martin wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean...
Oh, now Greg's back!
Okay, what did you talk about while I was gone?
Well, I was talking about how Granville Van Dusen and Morgan Fairchild were good separately, but not together, because, and I was about to compare them to the great pairings of the old Avengers and the new Avengers with John Steed and Emma Peel, and how John Steed is very coy and Emma Peel is quite the opposite.
Okay, Chico, take a breather.
Trying
The main thing we talked about was the 2013 mark in the video.
Okay, I have to share some behind the scenes stuff. I had to step away for a bit because my parents want to watch that new Nathan Lane series on Hulu, but I don't have Hulu in a separate app anymore. Now it's part of the Disney bundle. So I had to download Disney Plus on the TV and go into the Hulu section just so they could watch the Nathan Lane show on Hulu. Mid-Century Modern's the name of the show.
That's what I was trying to remember, but I thought it was on Netflix. Turns out it was on Hulu. That's actually a really good show, Mid-Century Modern. It's not vicious. It's not vicious with like Derek Jacobi and Ian McKellen. By the way, that's on Tubi if you want to watch it. Vicious. But it's a good show.
Okay, so I guess you were waiting for me to show this part while I was away, huh?
Well, we talked about it, but I was waiting for a reaction from you, and that's when Chico and I realized you stepped out for a moment. Okay, there you go. There's the caboose. There's the
moneymaker.
This could be the spoiler without context, or I don't know if we want to put that as actually, that's offensive. We can't put it as a spoiler without context. I don't want to do that.
No.
I don't want to objectify Morgan Fairchild like that.
No, leave it to Gene Rayburn to objectify her.
Listen, we have class on this podcast. We wouldn't want to do that. We wouldn't want to do something stupid, have it bite us on the ass, and then one day we're like the president of some crappy right-wing media empire. No, we don't want to do that.
So what I should tell everybody who's listening, Greg is sharing his screen with us, and he shared his screen for probably about a minute at this point. So we've all just seen on our computers Morgan Fairchild leaning over into this car, and there is her backside in this red sort of jumpsuit. Man, I don't need eugenics anymore.
I did not see any chemistry from Granville Van Dusen and Morgan Fairchild together. Morgan Fairchild, she understood the assignment. I don't think Granville Van Dusen did.
Well, that's why we've only talked about him for the first time last week.
But Morgan Fairchild, she knew what she was hired for, and she had no problem acting to that. So what can we say about Escapade? They tried to bring the Avengers over to America long before Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman had a go at it. But unfortunately, in 1978, this Escapade was just a thing on TV.
You can find us at our website, itwasathingontv.com, on Facebook at It Was a Thing on TV Podcast, and elsewhere at It Was a Thing on TV. You can find us on any podcast player, and we're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our releases, including what's coming up next time.
In our next episode of the podcast, well, we covered this, I want to say maybe a year or two ago, but we're covering the original pilot version of this.
And suffice it to say, it's a completely different animal. You thought high school was fun? You thought middle school was fun? Get ready for elementary school when you're newly married and one of your students has a mad crush on you. We'll talk more about that next time, right here, as Pilot Month continues on It Was a Thing on TV. For Greg, for Mike, I'm Chico. Thank you ever so much for listening. Please be kind to one another, and we will see you for the next one.
Wow!
I'm surprised that we went through the whole episode without playing a certain file, because Escapade was
A Quinn Martin production.
And also, let's remember that Morgan Fairchild, well,
You're gorgeous.
I think we played all the sounds that we needed to play.
And